G'day guys, welcome to the Terrors Below beta build. This is the second update in the new From Beyond content arc, and much like the previous Taking Root update, this is the shadow side of things. So first we had the lunar side, this is the shadow side. Obviously keep in mind with this video, the beta is still fresh, it's just come out of the oven, it's hot, it's steamy. There's going to be a lot of things adjusted, some bugs fixed, so yeah, keep that in mind. What you see in this video will probably not be what we end up with at the end once this beta cycle is done, but I'm going to give you a rundown of everything that's in the beta at this moment. So much like how the rifts on the surface can only be spawned by killing Celestial Champion, these rifts can only be spawned by killing Fuel Weaver. He's pretty easy these days. After you kill Fuel Weaver, a beckoning hand will appear, and once you give it time for the portal to reset and all of the warnings to go away, you can give it some Dreadstone. And you'll notice a familiar face. Charlie, or the Shadow Queen if you're not playing as Maxwell or Winona, will come in and repair the ancient gateway, and in doing so we'll start summoning rifts in the caves. As of this point, once you have repaired the ancient gateway, there's no way to break it again. The only way to turn off the rifts is to do so in the server settings. You can also turn on the rifts in the server settings without needing to fight Fuel Weaver if you wish. 5 days after you repair the gateway, a rift will spawn somewhere in the caves. You notice that this rift is surrounded by this black cloud known as miasma, and if you walk into it, it greatly reduces your movement. You see I'm losing a little bit of health every few seconds, and vision is incredibly poor. However, if you put on a bright shade helm, it allows you to move a bit more freely. You still get a little bit of clouded vision, but it's better than nothing. You see I'm still losing health as well. Unfortunately, there isn't a solution as of yet to move freely and unhindered through this. But you can clear it, funnily enough, with just a simple torch. Just got to run through it and it burns away. And as far as I'm aware, once you've burned it away, it won't come back unless it spawns from a new rift. So that's nice. I don't know why the dwarf star doesn't also burn away the miasma, but I mean, a torch is easy enough to make. You'll notice I also have this fused shadeling who's chasing me, and he's got a hefty 1250 health, so he is not something to sneeze at. And he's also not the easiest dude to fight as well. Oh, he is when I have mods. And they have a couple of different attacks. I'll see if I can get him to do his second attack without killing him. He plants like a little bomb there for you. So you have to watch out for that. That one hurts. And when he dies, he also drops this Dreadmite, which is the same kind of thing. Like a remote control bomb that follows you and drops even more bombs. So yeah, something to watch out for there. They do, however, drop this pure horror, which is nice. So if you manage to kill a bunch of them, it could be a good source of pure horror. And you can use this pure horror to craft some of the new items, as well as the obsidian looking armor from before. This one, the Dreadstone armor. And while these rifts are active, any rain that happens in the caves becomes acid rain. While it doesn't get you wet, it does hurt you. You lose health from it every few seconds, and it deteriorates your clothing and armor. So thankfully you don't lose a huge amount of health while you're in the rain, but it is a constant drain, something to just keep an eye on, I guess. And the only way to negate this so far is to build a new umbrella from 5 pure horror and 2 dark tatters. And as annoying as it is to have to make a new umbrella and hold an umbrella every time there's acid rain in the caves, it looks freaking awesome. As of yet, this is the only way to avoid getting damaged by the acid rain and having it damage your clothing. You can wear this in the acid rain as long as you have your umbrella out, and it won't deteriorate. It's all good. And while the umbrella lasts a good 15 days, unfortunately you can't repair it, so once it goes down, you're going to need to make another one. Another unique feature of the acid rain is that it turns regular ponds in the caves into these niter formations. And you can mine these formations for niter, you guessed it. It's nice, I guess. I never really find that I'm in need of a lot of niter in the caves, but the option is there. And another side effect of the rifts in the caves is that they spawn this dreadstone outcrop at a nearby fissure. I'm not sure if this is just the nearest fissure to the rift or the first one that you come across. You can mine the outcrop itself for dreadstone, but it also spawns these 3 ink blights. It reminds me a fair bit of the shadow chess pieces with the rook, knight and bishop in the way that they attack and move as well. But these guys are no joke. They each have 1,000 health and they have about 2 different types of attack each. With that guy I don't like. He's tough. Obviously the best strategy would be to fight one at a time. And this is the way that you get dark tatters. As you can see, we got 1 drop. When you kill 1, you get 1. If you kill 2, you get 2. And the third one, you get 3. For a total of 6. Also, you'll notice that cave-ins drop boulders now, which is a change that absolutely no one wanted. I'm not sure why that's the case. Screw you if you want to live in the caves, I guess. Now this guy, as much as I hate fighting him, I love his design. He's so cool. I'll show you the way that he attacks. He actually eats you and chews you up a bit, which is disastrous if you're not wearing armor. And even if you are, he just chewed through my bright shade helm. He also gets a little bit angry. He does that slapping attack, which is fun. When you do kill him, it just becomes a regular fissure again. And you can pick up your dark tatters. Another interesting thing I discovered about those 3 creatures is that they actually have names. When you hover over them in the game, they just show as ink blights. But in the codes, they're called Jitters, Rasp, and Shriek if you have a Shadow allegiance. I don't know if there's any way to be aligned with the shadows and maybe have them not be hostile to you or potentially even fight on your side. Maybe that's coming in a future update, I'm not sure. But that's pretty cool. But with these new items, we want to get to the crafts. What can you actually make with this stuff that's so hard to get? Well, if you head over to the Ancient Pseudoscience Station, you can now craft the Shadowcraft Plinth Kit. And this plinth kit is a lot like its lunar counterpart. So from this new station you can craft the new armor, the void robe and the void cowl, the umbrella which you saw before, and the shadow reaper. So we'll start with the armor. Goes a little bit crazy. Which looks really freaking cool if I could say so myself. I love the effect of the bright eyes underneath the shadowy cape. It's really cool. And much like its lunar counterpart, this also has a set bonus. So if you're wearing both the hat and the robe at the same time, you deal extra damage with the Shadow Reaper. So without any armor on, this weapon only does 56 damage, which is still not bad. But if you put on the cowl and the robe, all of a sudden it does 68. And 68 being the same as a dark sword. However, with this weapon, if you hit repeatedly, you'll notice that number 68 all of a sudden goes to 80, 84, 88. So the quicker you hit in succession, the more damage you do, 88 being the max that you can deal. And for a weapon with 200 uses, it's not that bad. The armor itself has exactly the same stats as the Bright Shade armor with an 830 health damage pool and 80% reduction. However, as cool as this Reaper is as a weapon, I don't even think that's its best use. You can actually use the Reaper as a proper scythe, and not only can it shear these crops, it can shear a lot of them at once, which is really freaking cool for harvesting a lot of resources like grass in particular. You can do this with any resource that you can pick or harvest off the ground, like twigs or berry bushes or anything like that. So really, really handy. And as I mentioned, it has 200 uses, so it's going to last a fair while. And you can notice that there's a different sound as I'm picking up the grass. A lot of basic resources have had their item pickup sound changed, like flint and gold and twigs and gems and niter, and I'm still not sure how I feel about this, and I'm not sure if this is going to be a change that we find going to be gradually rolled out to every item in the game. At the moment, I've only noticed it for the most basic items like rocks, twigs, flint, grass, etc. The Nightmare Werepig has also been changed a little bit. The fight is the same, but when you kill him, he now drops a blueprint or a dreadstone wall. And this is the new wall. It looks alright, I guess. I'm sure I'll find a use for it. Walls are always welcome. And perhaps the most noticeable change in this beta has nothing to do with the rifts whatsoever. It's the new scrapbook mechanic, which you can access from the pause menu. And it functions as basically a collection of anything that you encounter within the game. Any creature, any item, and any boss that you come across will go into this scrapbook, whether you want it to or not. It can be very annoying for your first few days as you encounter things like grass and twigs and flint, and it tells you about every single item that you find. But in the long run, I think it's a pretty good change. I like how it gives you lots of meaningful information about each item that you find. It tells you stack size. It tells you how many seconds of light it provides when burnt. It tells you food stats as well. Health, hunger, sanity, spoil time. For weapons and armor, it tells you the durability. For tools, it tells you how many uses they have. For weapons, it tells you how much damage they deal as well. This also tells you the sanity drain in seconds for some reason. And it even puts in the planar damage, which is nice because that's something that is a little bit awkward to get your head around initially. And you'll also notice that some of these items are grayed out while others are more clear. And that's because anything that you come across needs to be investigated before it tells you more about it. So I've encountered a log in the wild, but it will only tell me its uses and stats when I examine it, like I've examined this rot. And the way to do that is to hold Alt and inspect the item. So I've inspected this bright shade sword. Now it tells me my scrapbook is updated, and lo and behold, there's my bright shade sword. It does 38 damage plus 30 planar, 200 uses, craftable. And it also tells you quotes from each character. I've only played as WX today, but I imagine if I played as Wilson and I examined the sword, it would have a quote for Wilson. So that's pretty cool. Space sword. I think this scrapbook follows the natural progression of the game. You know, we had the cookbook, we've got the book for all the plants as well. It makes sense to have like a bestiary kind of thing. Makes the game a little bit more accessible to new players. But it's also helpful for me because I just forget things. Like sometimes I forget the durability of items. Like I didn't know that the bone helm absorbs 70% damage. That's nice to know. Maybe I would have wanted to know that one day. And it fulfills a need of just wanting to complete everything. Like I can see I've encountered 19% of creatures. It's also useful from a progression point of view. You can see that I've encountered 12% of giants. Like maybe I didn't know that there were bosses that I haven't killed yet. Might have gone through the game thinking that I've done everything, but no, I'm only 12%. So I think it's a good addition. Maybe I'd like to see it tweaked a little bit in future with things like filters. You can see they kind of have filters, like there's a grouping for birds and insects, but you can't click on it yet. Maybe that will come in the future, but yeah, I'm a fan of it. And last but not least in this update, you can now sit in chairs. I'm not sure why you can sit in chairs, but I am very grateful that you can sit in chairs. However, not only can you sit in chairs, but if your sanity is low, you'll find that shadow creatures can sit in them too. And they are just adorable. Thank you very much for this tidbit, Klei. That is pretty much the Terrors Below beta as it is today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as always. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you think of the scrapbook? Are the rifts too annoying? Are they worth the effort to get an umbrella and a new armor? I still think this is going to be one of those wait and see type deals. We're getting the pieces of the jigsaw now and we'll figure out what we're making later on. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you everyone who stopped by for the Twitch stream and helped me figure all this stuff out. I will catch you around. Take care.